So, hello everyone. My name is Joanne. I'm with Karlstad University in Sweden. And today I'm going to tell you about my ongoing research project on artificial intelligence in Chinese newsrooms. So, I'm going to begin with how my journey started. I'll invite you to meet this guy first.
Hello, everyone. I'm an English artificial intelligence anchor. This is my very first day in Xinhua News Agency. My voice and appearance are modeled on Zhang Zhao, a real anchor with Xinhua. The development of the media industry calls for.
So for those of you who have never met him before, this is the so-called Xinhua News AI news anchor developed by Chinese state-owned Xinhua News Agency by the end of 2018. And that happened to be a time when I was in London and I got a chance to visit a lot of the newsrooms there and listen to all the journalists and editors talking about how they want to leverage the power of data and AI to enhance efficiency, to cut cost, so that they can compete with Facebook and Google, who's eating a large chunk of their advertising revenue. So at that time, I had a very genuine question. Because in China, we don't have Facebook or Google. So what are the Chinese newsrooms doing with AI and doing with artificial intelligence? So today I'm going to share with you some of my initial findings, including why are they using it, why are they using it, some key features, and why should we care? So beginning with motivation. Firstly, the Chinese newsroom's use of artificial intelligence is largely politically motivated, mixed with some professional values to keep up with what's going on and some level of market concern. So the news workers that I've interviewed that work for the state-owned media organizations basically all told me, we're using artificial intelligence, that's because that's what she says. So she here refers to Chinese President Xi Jinping. In 2017, China has already laid out a national strategy to become a global innovation hub in the field of artificial intelligence by the year 2030. In 2019, when meeting with a group of media professionals, she said very explicitly, we have to use mainstream value to guide and override algorithms and use the power of AI to effectively guide public opinion. So the control of information flow and the establishment of ideological consensus is of paramount concern of the Chinese Communist Party. And she has also pointed out that without cybersecurity, there will be no national security. So as of that point, a lot of the newsrooms in China are already trying to embrace AI to some extent, and AI has permeated the whole news value chain. And there's some identifiable waves. So starting from the development of news writing bots to the growing popularity of the news aggregators to the whole newsroom transformation initiatives, such as the Media Brain at Xinhua or the Central Kitchen at People's Daily. And locally, you also have the cover from Sichuan province. But as of now, the AI still remain as this bright and shiny thing, and it hasn't been integrated into the day-to-day workflow of the newsrooms. And the journalists that I've interviewed all told me they're not very concerned of being replaced by AI, and AI will remain as a tool. And in the private sector, there's one major player that's worth mentioning, which is ByteDance. You may know it as the parent company of TikTok, but it started in China as a news aggregator in the year 2012 as 今日头条 or today's headline. And it's still actually going strong in China. In 2020, Total has over 1.5 billion active monthly users and an average engagement time of over 73.4 minutes, which is actually 500,000 longer than Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok. And the company exhibited a global ambition at a very early stage. It has made investment around the world in the news sector, purchasing news aggregator like Taobao in US, Japan, Brazil in 2015, and investing in the Daily Hunt in India, and it became a controlling shareholder of Babe in Indonesia and acquired News Republic in 2017. So, but as of now, we all know that it hasn't been a very smooth sell for Biden's initiative of going overseas. For example, in 2017, when India had its election, the backing of India's biggest news app has raised some eyebrows, and now India has banned a lot of Chinese apps. And the saga, like in US and Europe, also continues to do with some privacy concerns and data collection. But this actually leads to another point that I want to make, is that if you look at the track record of ByteDance, it actually has been an advocate in algorithmic transparency and accountability for a long while. As early as January 2018, he hosted a seminar with the industry experts titled Make Algorithms Transparent. And in March last year, ByteDance announced a plan to open a transparency center in the US and appeals to other platforms to do the same, to be more transparent about their algorithms and also the content moderation policy. And actually, just as of yesterday, TikTok launched a hashtag fact check your feed campaign to support media literacy. That actually took me a little bit by surprise because when I interviewed the developers for the Tencent news writing bot, they couldn't care less about ethics in a way, such as like authorship, transparency issues, and even the media scholars that I've interviewed, they tend to downplay the potential danger of AI. That being said, there are not so some very not so surprising findings in Chinese media's use of AI. For example, they're using it for what they call content risk management. For example, in ByteDance alone, they have more than 20,000 human sensors working with over 600 machine learning models for content moderation. So besides filtering pornography, violent, vulgar, and other illegal and inappropriate content, when it comes to political contents, a source told me that the news aggregator has a whitelist with all media organizations such as Xinhua, People's Daily, and China Central Television that can report on the, for example, Xi Jinping, but posts from other sources that want to talk about these key political figures will be automatically filtered, not to mention some politically contentious events or keywords. So when the machine is uncertain about a post, it will actually go to a human sensor, and the human sensor will decide whether this content is safe or not. And the feedback will go back into loop to train the algorithm. And if a post gets too trendy, too fast, getting too much attention, the algorithmic distribution will also automatically hold the process until a human sensor can confirm the content is safe. So content moderation in China is actually a very huge business. People's Daily's third-party content moderation has grown 166% in 2018, which they attribute to this man-machine collaboration. And there are also reports of how some Chinese media used algorithmic distribution targeted minority groups for propaganda purpose. And in addition, there's some legal perspectives that's worth noticing. For example, last year, a Chinese court has ruled in favor of the copyright protection of an article written by Tencent's news writing bot, Dreamwriter. And the new Chinese copyright law is actually coming into force on 1st of June this year. And it has been revised to take a pro-control, pro-investment, and pro-innovation approach in its latest revision. So the protection of AI-generated works may lead to more investment in journalism innovation, but it might only favor tech giants who already has the infrastructure and the know-how, and also the state-owned resource-rich media organizations, and leading the small and private sectors being marginalized or even pushed out of the market, resulting in a concentration of power or even tightened state control of media production and information flow. But in a recent 1 year, we've also witnessed that China has been stepping up its effort in reining the power of tech giants using antitrust regulations. And currently, a second draft of China's personal information protection law is being deliberated. Once it can be implemented, it could be detrimental to data-hungry tech companies in China. But whose values are going to be written into these laws, and where does it leave journalism in this shifting power dynamic? So I think these are questions really worth our ongoing observation. So to conclude, there's some questions I would like to invite you to think and discuss with me. First of all, China has a very different reality that just cannot be interpreted forcing the Western logic. In the West, maybe there's some market concern, technology that can drive matters around. But in China, the determining factor is always politics. So some issues around information warfare or tech rivalries that between China and other countries involve more than technological issues or even commercial interest, but also need to be viewed through the lenses of, for example, ideological differences, geopolitics, among others. So they are not simple answers. And secondly, As the American tech historian Marvin Kronsenberg puts it, technology is neither good nor bad, nor is it neutral. So like the machine learning technology and the natural language processing that can filter hate speech on some platforms, it can also be used to censor politically contentious content. So what are the implications of this so-called AI journalism or journalism innovation? How can we build responsible and ethical and trustworthy AI? I believe these are discussions that are urgent to be had so that we can be prepared instead of plugging the holes after the damage is done. And lastly, AI in media is transcending borders. So we've seen the example of TikTok. And last year, we actually have, Cardi B watching CGTN documentary and defending China's performance during COVID. And so what's her YouTube algorithms doing there? And just a couple months ago, New York Times reported that there is a pro-Huawei campaign on Twitter with some AI generated profiles. And last week it was reported that a cross-border company with its roots in China has now the most downloaded news app in the world, Newsbreak. So equipped with this technology, China's goal of using AI to guide public discourse may no longer be domestic. After all, the Xinhua AI news anchor that I've shown to you in the beginning does speak English. So that's all from me. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the discussion.